Hi, welcome back. Today I will be reading from chapter 28. It's grandmother's story. She's still at the Watt. We don't know for how much longer, and the year is 2004. With grandmother, the purpose of this chapter was three things. The first thing was to provide an overview of this incredible woman's life. And the second thing was I really wanted to show the beauty of her relationship with her granddaughter, which was her whole reason of surviving. And the third thing I can't tell you about. You'll just have to listen and it will reveal itself towards the end. This is it. The Thai government has had it with all of the Laotian refugees who have made Thailand their new home. They have decided to start removing us from Thai soil. To begin the process, they have worked out an arrangement with the American government. The American government, we are told, will take good care of their Hmong supporters. On our last night at the Watt, I sit as I have so many times, holding my bow's hands. It's our life, I tell her, unable to disguise the despair in my voice. It's good to remember, grandmother, Bao says. She continues to affectionately massage my knuckles. It's good to remember, she tells me again with conviction, squeezing my hands into hers to reinforce this point. I knew it was. I feel Bao's soul purr when I tell her about Lao. Even though she cannot remember, I know there is a connection. Somewhere inside her body, she reaches out and grabs onto my words and holds onto them with the same attention a child devotes to his mother's breast when it has first learned to latch on. My gnarled fingers release hers as I reach over to grab the story cloth that I have devoted many hours to, the tapestry that holds every minute of our life woven into fabric. I acknowledge the gift of recollection as my fingers relive every stitch, every tiny picture frame by frame, illustrating her story and our ancestry. In the top left-hand corner, the word China is stitched in blue. Our ancestors, with their belongings strapped to their backs, walked down into Burma and Thailand, while others crossed the Mekong River into Laos. Burma, Thailand, and Laos are also clearly labeled in blue stitches. In my beloved Laos, I have embroidered every aspect of our life. Representative of the land of 1,000,000 elephants, there are gray elephants, regal in their posture that tower as tall as the lush jungle trees. There are green stalks of corn bearing large ears of corn beckoning to be harvested. There are patches of red poppy flowers blowing in the morning breeze. And there are my grandparents, my father, my mother, aunts and uncles, my husband and our children, bent over in the water past their ankles, diligently attending to their rows of rice. I have stitched stilted houses that have doors in the front and the back, so the spirits may pass freely. The houses rest in between leaning palms and animals. There are yellow ducks and red roosters who strut confidently around the tiny compressed yard. Brown dogs with white underbellies bark as horses descend from the mountains with baskets on either side of their flanks. Their baskets are brimming with our harvest. I have embroidered a replica of myself happily standing in the vegetable garden. I am dressed in traditional clothing, as is everyone in the story cloth. The white water from my bamboo bucket is showering life into sprigs of sugar cane. The palm of my life dances before me in vivid blues, greens, and yellows and reds. Then the colors darken to depict a sinister time in my life. Down from the sky, a streak of lightning brings with it a rain of communist soldiers. They are wearing green uniforms and hats and carry with them big brown guns that spit out death. Many of our people fall to the ground with pools of red sewn under their bodies. Our people flee from the stilted houses on the mountaintops. There are many tears on their faces. The next section is dedicated to the coming of the Americans and their planes. I have placed them like great big gray birds high in the sky, which is stitched with silky white clouds. The metal birds release great fires that fall to the ground, and upon impact heave piles of smoke and debris upwards. Other planes are dropping bags filled with rice to the starving, outstretched arms of my people. I tell Bao that during the war, some of the young children thinks that rice drops from the sky. They'd never seen it grow in the ground. The pattern of our battle against the communist is stretched across the fabric before our eyes. My concentration is unwavering. An American, the core hope of our people, stands proudly and distributes weapons. Another instructs battle techniques. It is here my hands linger the longest, tracing with my fingers the spot where I have proudly embroidered my son, standing beside the raven pilot he flew with. The next scene depicts a large gray bird eaten by flames, falling from the sky, its nose pointing downwards at the plain of jars. This entire scene is framed by people scattering in fear from the danger. People are hiding in caves to avoid the terrifying bomb showers, and they are running deep into the green jungles with the communists in pursuit. Oh my, says Bao, as I arrive at the panel which illustrates the big metal birds flying away from Laos. The Hmong are standing beneath them, begging them to come back, while the communists raise the guns over their heads and jeer. We run. Yes, we do, I confirm, putting my arms around her shoulders and pointing to the pictures of the Hmong with all their belongings strapped to their backs. Her fingers respectfully trace the stitching that led us to the Mekong. Very dangerous, Bao says solemnly. She points to the people who did not have boats and had to swim or use bamboo poles, their hands hanging on tightly and their feet kicking furiously beneath the water's surface. Many people died crossing the river, she adds. To illustrate this point, there is a hand above the water sinking in defeat. Further up the river, there is a body that rests on the bottom. For those of us who successfully crossed, I have stitched the Thai military in green. They're here to greet us and transport us to camps, I say. With tears in my eyes, I caress the picture of baby Bao in my arms until I can no longer see her beside me. When my tears dry, my fingers resume tracing the story of our life. My fingers cruise over the letters BANVINAI. So many years, I sigh. This is where my memory starts working, Bao says. I remember what it was like in one of the rooms, like where we lived with so many barracks. There's ours, she says, pointing with her finger. I know hunger, what it is to live in a place with little water to drink and bathe. I know what it's like to live in a place where everyone is sick and dying, Bao continues. I'm sorry you know those things, Bao, I say, stroking her back. We rest in our thoughts together, looking at the pictures of official looking people sitting at desks and the long line of Hmong in front of them. We know some among get into buses and then fly away in bigger planes like the ones from the war. We know they go to faraway places like France and America. We did not go in one of those planes. We did, just as my embroidery shows, ride in a bright orange bus to the Wat. And there is the abbot in his brown robe, standing with his arms wide to meet the bus. I smile at my Bao as my eyes travel backwards over the journey I have taken, and I'm filled with love and admiration for the woman my Bao has become. I coast in nostalgia, until Bao's voice interrupts. I can't believe I didn't notice this until now. What? You appear frequently in your cloth. I smile. It's my story. You have identified yourself by a tiny yellow sun. Look, it's stitched discreetly in the sash. Bao is excited about her discovery. I keep smiling. Bao, admiring the cloth, says, the sun is bright, bold, and beautiful, just as you are. I respond with a gentle pat on her cheek and smile at her with my eyes. There are sections where you haven't sewn your body and have just used the sun. Bao's eyes flip over the cloth, and I know she is about to ask why I have done that when she sees a distinct pattern. She knows this is no oversight. I'm true proficient in my talent. I am absent in all the segments of the events that are too painful for my fingers to stitch. I told Bao what my hands could not. I told her not to put fear into her dreams so that she would know the truth of what goes on in the depths of the jungle, and so she would understand the circumstances from which we flee. Can I say I ask her? Of course, Bao says. My eyes focused on the embroidery handbag she has just completed. It's a tribute to your life. Bao has constructed a miniature version of my story cloth. She has made a small cloth bag. The front is stitched with the pictures of my life, of our life together. It will be a beautiful bag for a foreigner, I said. Yes, she says, it will. My only regret is whoever buys it will not know the incredible woman whose life it represents. Incredible woman, I say. The day before the traders arrived, the prospect of capital always generates excitement. The banter between buyers and sellers chirps back and forth, leaving trails of dialogue across the woman's store. The trader with the crooked tooth picked up Bao's small handbag. He studied the quality of her stitching, mindful of her superior craftsmanship. He pretended to be uninterested and went to examine the other items we had to offer. He looked at the story cloth the size of small blankets. He looks at other panels and other bags. All were an inferior quality to Bao's bag. I knew his eyes pretended to be interested in everything other than Bao's bag. How much for this one, he said. How long did it take to make this one? I waited. I knew the game. It was the same every time the traders came to the Wat. The traders pretended not to be interested in what they were buying. I busied myself with the task of completing another bag. I knew he would be back. I knew this trader with the crooked tooth. He had been coming to the store for years, and he always sought out Bao's and my work. He knew quality, and he was willing to pay for it. I liked him. He was surprisingly fair. The crooked-toothed trader made his way back to us. See anything you like? I said. Not really, he said. Poor quality. He smiled at me and I smiled at him. When our negotiations were completed, the trader with the crooked tooth turned to one of the young girls who had learned Thai in school and asked her to translate. What he wanted to know went beyond my limited Thai for bartering. Will you be going to one of the 1,500? Will you be one of the 1,500 going to America? No, I said. Will you stay here at the Wat? No, I said. I didn't register because I was afraid if I did, they'd send us back to Laos. Where will you go? He wanted to know. Hue Nam Kao, I said. The camp in our northeast? Yes. I could see from his eyes that the trader with the crooked tooth knew more about this camp than I did. But you helped the Americans in the war. You could go to America. I don't want to go to America, I told him. I think it would be better than Hue Nam Kao, he said. We smiled as two people smile at each other when they know they are saying goodbye. I don't know why I asked, but I did. Where will it be sold? Chiang Mai, said the trader with the crooked tooth. I know Bao will never sell my story cloth. It is too much a part of her and me. She will have it long after my soul returns to the clouds. She will have it to hold in her hands. She will hold the story cloth in her hands, and she will feel my presence. Her children will hold it, and their children's children will hold it. The cloth will exist longer in the hands of future generations, and they will be reminded of what it is to be Hmong. They will know the stories. They will know the glories. They will know the tears. This is their fortune, worth more than 1,000,000 silver bars. Tomorrow, when we wake, we will be sent to Hue Nam Kao, to whatever that means. But I must be strong for Bao because I do not want to frighten her. Good night, Bao. Good night, grandmother. We'll come back to grandmother later, but tomorrow we need to find out what Miss Isra is up to. Thank you for listening.